Hello, and welcome to a minisode of My Streaming Bubble, the podcast where I talk about the shows I love with the people I tolerate. I am your TV watching and talking host, Jen, and I'm back for another mini bubble, minisode, covering the third episode of The Last of Us. So, covering this second season of The Last of Us episode by episode because, yeah, why the fuck not? You know, I've done it. I did it for season one. That was a lot of fun. I have, for the most part, been enjoying covering season two. It's really early in the season. That second episode kind of made me question all my life choices when it comes to covering the show for the podcast. So I guess maybe not all my life choices. Well, I guess it would have to be all my life choices. Everything that led me up to that moment. Anywho, so back for the third episode, The Path. At the time that I went to go start typing up my notes and getting everything ready, there was no synopsis on IMDb. It didn't even have like the episode title yet. And it was already past like 9 p.m. Central Time. So I was like, oh, keeping shit all under wraps. Or maybe it was just late uploading. I don't fucking know. But either way, I was just like, what does it mean? Not a lot. Not for this third episode, truly, compared to the second episode. So let's just get right into it. So the IMDb information is now out there because it's been enough time has passed. So yeah, season 2 of The Last of Us, episode 3, titled The Path. After Dina shares crucial intel, Ellie prepares to petition the town council. Near Seattle, a religious group flees a war. So previously on The Last of Us, a whole bunch of stuff I didn't like happened. So it was a really good episode. I really, really enjoyed it. As much hurt and pain as it brought, it was tense and action-packed. And again, just a casual reminder that zombies are still a threat in the zombie apocalypse. Even though more times than not, the main threat will always be the people. All right, so episode 3, The Path, was, I liked this episode. It slowed things down from last week, which is kind of needed. I like it when shows more or less do a send-off episode for recently departed characters and exiting cast members. So that's what this episode reminded me of, was just kind of one of those grieving episodes, awake, so to speak, trying to piece together our lives after such a tragedy. But I really liked how the episode even opens. I thought there were some really, really, really beautiful like shots of like scenery, the cinematography, like mountains and everything. Just gorgeous. I loved it. This episode opens with a shot of the gates for Jackson home, and the sky is all kind of orange from the fires and everything. And there's just like a sea of like dead, burnt up fungus zombie types. And I just thought that was that would make an amazing poster or sticker or something that I need to have on my persons or just in my collection of stuff. But I feel like I'm assuming they're filming on location. So it was just really nice to kind of get some better shots, some beautiful shots of just kind of that landscape of where they're at and just of that area. And if they're not filming on location, if a lot of that was CGI, it was very, very good CGI. Not a green screen to be spotted anywhere. So that was kind of one of the first big takeaways, was just like, wow, this episode is like beautifully filmed. But we start, and it's kind of like that direct aftermath of the attack on Jackson Hole and the death of Joel, and Ellie and Joel and Jesse getting back to Jackson. And we kind of see their makeshift morgue. And there lies Joel, and there's Tommy. Tommy's cleaning the body and kind of having his moment and to grieve his brother and to say goodbye. And it was so, I'm gonna fucking start crying. I didn't cry during the episode. Why the fuck am I crying now? Holy shit. So emotional. But it was just, I think what it was when Tommy was all like, give Sarah my love or something, like, unnecessary. That hurt. Just feeling that loss all over again. But it makes all the sense. And it was just so sad and very well done. I like that we get a chance to kind of slow things down, take a beat, and give us that time with what had happened. And even though we do get a time jump of what I think it was like 3 months, obviously Ellie is still hurting. Obviously Tommy's still hurting. Dina's all wound up and ready to go. Fuck, even Seth. Seth is ready to make a stand or fucking something. But yeah, so 3 months later, everyone's still grieving, not just the loss of Joel, but of all the other people that were lost in the attack, and rebuilding and fortifying structures and everything. So they're kind of busy, but Ellie wants her revenge / justice. So they do the whole like town hall meeting, everything. They follow protocol, which, hey, you gotta respect that, I guess, right? Like they have to convene they have to get the council to convene. Everyone gets to say their piece, and then the council makes a decision, like how things like should work, right? Like, oh my God, what is this perfect apocalypse world? So I loved that. I loved seeing such a large community too, so willing to work together and, you know, respect the rules that have been put into place for everybody's safety and well-being. It's nice to see that. It sucks that we have to see it in a fictional zombie TV show based on a video game. That's where we're at. Where life looks better in a zombie apocalypse. Not so much, maybe, right? Like, maybe not for Joel. But yeah, so everyone says their piece. Jesse gives Ellie great advice of just write that shit down. Jesse's on the council now, of course, because he's got that really perfect, like, anime hair. If ever I could get my hair to do what anime hair does, I'd be, like, the happiest person in the fucking world. But I'm not a cartoon. Neither is Jesse, but he still has amazing anime hair. So, of course, he's now on the council. But he tells Ellie, you know, like, write your shit down. Like, you're too emotional. You can't come at this emotionally. I love that he even has the line, like, the council, like, she's angry and the council isn't going to vote for angry. And that's brilliant. Solid advice. And I think that's how most councils should work. Like, you need to work objectively and with as little, like, you got to go full, like, Vulcan on that shit. Like, remove emotions and look at things logically. So everyone says their piece. Some people are very much like, no, we can't take the risk to send out Ellie and a party of like 16 people, 16 of like their best, to go hunt down Abby and the gang. And the one woman that spoke first, I can't remember what that character's name is. I can barely remember the main character's name. So, but I love that she had that point of, you know, we all love Joel and we're all going to miss him and we're all hurting, but he wasn't the only one. And I think that is a very good reminder that, like, these worlds aren't just about the characters that we know. There are clearly a butt ton of other characters and a lot of them died. And so I love just kind of putting all of that into perspective, where we may more oftentimes see, you know, like a group being like, yeah, let's go, like all gung ho for it. And just like, yeah, let's get those motherfuckers. So to see that not overwhelmingly, but I guess like the people that spoke had valid points and were looking at things more big picture. And even though that's not exactly how Ellie wanted things to go during the council meeting, and maybe that's not how we, the viewers, wanted things to go, that's just how things were going to go. So we can also see Ellie be so defiant and Dina be defiant with her and kind of being like the brains of that operation. But either way, love the council scene, and Ellie's speech was beautiful. And for a hot second, I was like, oh shit, I love this like kind of spin that she put on it about not wanting revenge, but wanting justice, and not just justice for Joel, but justice for all of them. And, you know, hitting Maria with the, you used to fight for justice, or, you know, something along those lines. Kind of a nice reminder of what life used to be like compared to like now, right? Like justice. There isn't necessarily always going to be justice in an apocalypse. So to get it when you can, I think, is a pretty big deal. Who was it? I think someone had some line about what separates them from like the Raiders or the other maybe more violent groups was something about like their compassion or something. I don't remember. Great story. But yeah, and then fucking Seth stands up and he's all like Team Ellie and everything, and he's all angry because fucking of course he would be. And my only note is just like, ugh, Seth. And it's like, all right. Are we giving Seth some sort of like mini redemption arc or some fucking shit? Whatever. And it's like, and don't get me wrong, I get like people deserve a second chance. Maybe Seth did fuck up. We don't know anything about this character. We don't know who he was before the apocalypse. We don't know what he was like these last 5 years. So I guess we can give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but I don't know. Even Ellie seemed a little like, really? Like this guy? But at the end, shook hands, somewhat made amends, like, fine, whatever. And I get that, like, because in the after show, they were talking about Seth's character and how he starts off as a bigot and kind of comes around and is there to back and support Ellie, being kind of like the only one, the first one at the council meeting to take that stand. You know, and I get it. They're like, you know, people are complicated. And it's like, yes, I know. Eye roll noises. Yes. People deserve a second chance, I suppose. And again, not knowing anything about this character. So it's like, at best, like what I kind of came up with for that character is, okay, let's say before the world went to shit, let's say Seth was somewhat of a bigot, but during that time period. But before the world went to shit, maybe something happened in his life where he had to kind of reevaluate that stance of being a bigot. And maybe during that time, he was doing the work, making changes, trying to better himself for, let's say he had a family member that came out or something and realized that he does love that family member a lot and wants to keep them in their life. So he had to change. Let's, at the very, very best, well, I'll give him maybe that just so I don't feel quite as icky about being like, okay, fine, Seth, you're fine. You can help Ellie. But then maybe over the last 5 years, tension, stress, whatever, and then getting hammered at the barn party or just all of those old feelings came bubbling up. Now you can still make the argument that alcohol shows us who people truly are. And so maybe you can make the argument that by Seth displaying that bigotry at the party, he hadn't really done as much work or hadn't really changed that much per my made up backstory. And that's fine. That's fine. This is all, I'm making this shit up again to try and feel okay-ish with Seth standing up for Ellie. I still don't really care for it, but it is what it is. Whatever. Maybe Seth does some more awesome stuff to redeem himself. I don't fucking know. I don't really care a whole hell of a lot, but they're just gonna keep throwing that dude at us this season, and I don't know if I like that. Like, what's gonna happen with this fucking guy? First we don't like him because he's a bigot. Then what? We come around because he's there and all like Team Ellie and does some other shit to redeem himself, and then gets like torn apart or something, and then we're supposed to be like, oh no, he was doing so good. Like, I've been wrong about like everything else. I would love to be wrong about that as well. Just saying. So the council votes against sending Ellie and a crew of people out. So obviously Ellie is just like, fuck that. I'm going to go anyway, even though she said she would respect the council's decision. I think everyone in that room knew that was bullshit. So she's getting all packed up. Dina shows up and she's like, well, you don't have a plan. You don't know which route you're going. You don't have any supplies. So I love that Dina was there. And again, is kind of like the brains now of this operation. All sense with gumption. Ellie is all gumption, little sense. And I can say that because that's how this house kind of is. We are. Some of us are all sense and no gumption, and some of us are all gumption and no sense. And so they head out. And oh God, Dina has amazing points about, just the one horse, take as little as possible so you're not carrying a whole bunch of shit. Wear everything that you're gonna need, kind of thing. Very, very smart. Love it. So they head off and they do a little overnight tent camping during a rainstorm, which was so nice and sweet. That was a nice little moment, bringing those two characters that much closer together. And they eventually make it to the outskirts of Seattle, and that's where we see one of the guys, Team Abby, the one that was like kicking Ellie. He's keeping watch in one of the big buildings or something. Abby comes on the radio. They're getting ready to move or whatever. And then we see just like a shitload of these wolves. Like so many of them. Good luck, Ellie and Dina. That's a lot to take out. So who knows? Maybe they can pull a Joel and just kill everybody. Although that seems doubtful based on the on one of the previews that I saw. Because Ellie comes face to face with the one of the Team Abby people, and she's like, "You don't know what he did," or whatever. So that will be kind of interesting when Ellie finds out what it was that Joel did, how exactly he, quote, saved her, and having to come to terms with that. I was going to say nothing's worse than, but plenty of things are worse than. But it always sucks when you're really, really mad at a dead person, because then you can't really be mad at them. You can't hash it out. You might feel a little guilty for being mad at a dead person. So it's like this whole mix of emotions. I'm wondering if Ellie's going to experience some of that, and we get to see that and experience that with Ellie. That's going to suck. That's my guess right now, is I'm not going to like any of that. Meh. Oh, and real quick, kind of back to the tent scene when Ellie and Dina are having their little chit-chats and whatnot. Did anyone else have this one quick moment, this scene where they're talking? And because I have closed captioning on, the camera is focused on Dina's face. And she had asked Ellie a question. Ellie responded. The caption says, Dina says, yeah, but we're still focused on Dina's face, which didn't move. So what the fuck was that? Some bad editing, I'm guessing? Yeah, camera on her face, voice and caption said that she spoke, but she didn't actually speak unless she's like a ventriloquist and could throw her voice off screen. And there was like one or two other times where the the audio, the dialogue seemed a little off. Like different lines were dubbed in later. And I know that happens. I know shows do that. Sometimes it's a bit more obvious than others because, oh, I heard the cat fucking around and then I didn't see the cat. And then I was like, fuck, I'm haunted. Yeah, so there was just a couple of times where the audio seemed a little off. Someone else's voice was dubbed in. Like, I want to say there was the other time it happened was during like the council meeting, and maybe it was like Maria's voice that was being dubbed over. Like, we weren't, like, the camera wasn't focused on any one character, but like Maria or someone had a line. And it just sounded different because then when it cut back to a shot of Maria actually talking, just the volume, the tone or something was a little different. And like I said, I know shows do that a lot, and that's not a great big deal. This just seemed a bit more obvious than perhaps other times. Definitely the first time that I've noticed within this series, at least noticeable. And if it hadn't been for that little snafu with Dina in the tent scene, I might not have even mentioned it. But I noticed that. That was weird. That weirded me out. I rewound and replayed to make sure that I didn't just fucking hallucinate that. So I didn't. But I'm just curious if anyone else saw that. So that's pretty much all of that with Ellie and Dina. Tommy is very much like, yes, let's go. He seemed pretty calm and subdued when Ellie was first kind of pleading her case to him before she went to the council. And I love Tommy's line of like something to her along the lines of like, don't tell me I don't know him or something. Like, yeah, dude, that's his brother. They've known each other a lot longer than you. So I think Tommy would have a slightly better idea of what Joel would have wanted and how to kind of go about avenging him. Whereas Ellie not to say she doesn't know Joel, but she only knows post-apocalypse Joel. Whereas Tommy knows all of Joel. And so I kind of love that. That's just a nice reminder that, yeah, they're brothers. Like, Ellie isn't necessarily going to know better than Tommy. So I also like that when Tommy delivered that line in their whole kind of conversation, Tommy wasn't overly like emotional. He wasn't angry. He wasn't too upset. He seemed very calm and like clear-headed, which, maybe that's the balance that's going to be needed for Ellie. Maybe that's going to be kind of one of the differences between him and Joel. Joel definitely seemed all gumption, no sense. Where Tommy might be more sense than gumption. That's fine. But I appreciated that Tommy wasn't getting mad, throwing things, dropping things, yelling at Ellie of like, you don't know him, like I know him kind of thing. So it seemed very like respectable, and really trying to maintain being on like the same page as her in a way, and not so much like adult and child kind of interaction. Cause I feel like if Tommy had gotten overly emotional about it, it would have felt more of like an adult scolding a child kind of thing. Whereas Ellie is an adult and they're treating her as such for the most part. I still think that first episode pulling those punches was probably a good idea. But emotionally, don't pull the punches. She can handle it. She's a big girl. Okay, so I believe that is all for Team Ellie. But in this episode, we're introduced briefly to this kind of religious-y group. I don't know they seem cult adjacent. I don't know if they're cult-y. But we're introduced to them. They're walking through the woods. And we're following this one group and a father and a daughter, and talking about prophets and all of that kind of stuff. So again, cult adjacent. And there must be another group Some were walking in the woods as well. Probably smart to keep them separated, especially considering one of the groups is attacked. At least one, if not both. I don't know yet. But they communicate through whistling, smart. And yeah, something happens. Someone else whistles. This group all jumps into the wooded areas and take cover. And that's where we leave them. And then we come back during Ellie and Dina's trip to Seattle, and we find that they did not survive this attack. And it was so bad that it made Dina yak, which I get it. That was a lot of dead people. And they killed the kid. That's always sad. So the one thing I was really curious about with this group was it seemed like they all had like scars along their cheeks, kind of going towards their mouth. Like, ask me how I got these scars, kind of scars. So what's that about? Is that part of this, of like their prophet life? Was there something else going on? Had they all been maybe captured, tortured? That's how they all, because I think they all had them. And then were saved and now worship some prophet or something. What if Joel what if they somehow were saved by Joel? Probably not, though. This show does not do anything I think it's going to do. And that's fine. I like that. Keeps me on my toes. But so that's all we know about this cult adjacent group. So it'll be interesting to see how they all kind of play into this. Maybe Joel wasn't their quote prophet, but maybe they're victims. Maybe they've been victimized by Wolf as well. I think the way the scene was set up initially when they're first attacked, we're kind of maybe led to believe or assume that it was the wolves that attacked him, like Abby's group. And that's kind of what Ellie and Dina are thinking. Was that it was Team Abby? Because they don't know how many wolves there are. Dina might know of the wolves and of these people from having been captured by them, but I don't know that Dina knows how big that group is. I feel like if she did know, she would have said something to Ellie and would have prepared better for it. Unless this is some all big elaborate trap, and then I'm going to be very fucking upset, but doubtful, because then that would mean Dina be playing the long game for like the last 5 years and 3 months. So I don't think that's what's happening. It fucking better not be. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much the episode. Not a whole hell of a lot happens. We get to kind of say our goodbyes, removing Pedro Pascal's name from the credits, and him and Ellie no longer. That was rude and unnecessary. You didn't have to do that yet. You could have waited until the next episode. Pedro was laying on the slab, so he's kind of technically sort of in this episode, right? Like, don't do that. That was not nice. Oh, shit. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. Good episode. And I love that. Yeah, we get to kind of slow things down a little bit, grieve, mourn, say our goodbyes, and also get ready for the next adventure. Oh, and before I forget, Gail. We got a little bit of Gail again this episode. So Ellie has to talk to Gail before she can leave the hospital after this time jump and everything. I love their interaction. I love Gail so much. She's the best. And then we also see Gail out watching like a little league game, and she's got her lawn chair and her cooler of beer, and Tommy comes up and they're having a little chit chat, and she's like, here, have a beer. I got it from so-and-so. Her payment as the town therapist is weed and alcohol. She admits to being an alcoholic and smoking a fuck ton of pot to kind of cope and everything. But she was still there to offer her assistance, her ear to Tommy. So she's still functioning in her, as the town therapist. Just again, like, now she can drink on the job. That should make it more fun. But how did she who took the cooler out there for her? It was a reasonable size cooler. It wasn't like one of the igloo coolers with just like the handle on top that just like you push a little button and it slides open that holds like a sixer. This was almost party size. And I would, can we get like a behind the scenes shot of Gail trying to drag all that shit out to the fields? Otherwise, who helped her? It doesn't matter, but it made me chuckle. All right, now I'm done. This went a little longer than I thought it was gonna. I honestly thought this was gonna be like super duper short, but leave it to me to find shit to ramble about. So, looking forward to episode 4, which of course is not named yet on IMDb. And that's fine. I kind of like that. I like keeping it a mystery for as long as possible. There's no synopsis whatsoever. That's fun. So we'll see what next week brings and how they're going to infiltrate Seattle and the wolves. Where's Tommy? Is Tommy following close behind? Does he have to have a loud discussion with Maria first about it? Will Maria join? Probably not, because she's on the council. I feel like some people need to be left by to help kind of run Jackson whole. Maybe Jesse. Jesse didn't really seem very Team Ellie, though. And there were a lot of no votes from the council. I think like only 3 yeses. So I can't wait. I love this show. A lot. Even without Pedro Pascal, I still love it. Bella Ramsey's out there still giving one of the best performances that I've seen from them. And when when Ellie was giving her impassioned plea to the council and trying to get folks and trying to rally folks to get behind her cause, I got a little bit of like Lady Mormont badassery feeling there. So, and that's all Bella being a little badass. So I love it. They're doing great. I cannot fucking wait to see where the rest of the season goes and how Ellie also is going to work through everything that Ellie needs to fucking work through, because Ellie's going to have a lot of stuff to work through. Like I said, it's rough being mad at a dead person. So until next week, why don't you go ahead and let me know what you thought of today's minisode. Let me know what you thought of the 3rd episode of the series, The Path. Let me know what you think of the show so far. My show and The Last of Us. All of the above. You can send all of that to mystreamingbubble@gmail.com. You can also let me know if you have any show suggestions or movie suggestions, or if you want to be tolerated. Just hit me up on the old Gmail there, and I'll get back to you at some point relatively soon. I'm getting better at checking that email account. I get a lot of junk in that. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. Holy shit. So make sure you're following the podcast. So you can find My Streaming Bubble on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Just got to search My Streaming Bubble and I should pop up for you. And then make sure you listen, rate, review, and share this podcast from the podcast player you are listening on. And then don't forget about the Twin It to Win It podcast, the monthly podcast I co-host with Aaron from It's a Fandom Thing, and we test our twinningness by guessing how the other feels about different horror movies. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Just search Twin It to Win It podcast, and there we are. Latest episode is out now. We discussed the movie The Witch, or Witch, if you want to pronounce it correctly and not how it's spelled. I suppose then it would be pronounced Witch. God, I'm an idiot. But make sure you check that out on a podcast player near you. Listen, rate, review, and share that podcast, your favorite episodes, to your friends, family, and mail carrier. So thank you all for listening, and keep streaming. Goodbye. If you're enjoying the podcast, here are a few ways to show your continued support, like rating and reviewing on a podcast player near you, and sharing your favorite episodes with your friends, family, and mail carrier. If you're looking for merch, then stop by my Redbubble store, where you can find and buy My Streaming Bubble stickers, hats, shirts, and more. You can also find me over at buymeacoffee.com and, well, buy me a coffee. Thank you for your continued support and keep streaming. Bye.